Okay, give it up for Jen, please.
This is a very different kind of talk. It's different from what we just had. It's different from the two talks which are all about code sharing, but this is another one about code sharing as well. But it has a different aesthetic. I hope you'll enjoy it. It's also different from the kind of talk I usually give, which usually involves pouring drinks for people and serving. Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. But so I'm going to start with talking a little about philosophy. So it's a little bit different type of aesthetic I have going on here. So my name is Jen Looper. I'm a senior developer advocate at Progress. I'm on the awesome mobility team with my great colleagues who are here. You can always follow me at Jen Looper on Twitter. I'm also the founder and CEO of Vue Vixens. I'm wondering how many Vue developers we have in here, because we talked a lot about Vue. Okay, a few. Okay, so that's awesome. Well, this is the agenda for today. So what we're going to do is we're going to examine a theory of creating quality products by positioning ourselves within this mental model, contrasting the logical and the artistic, and I'll explain what I mean in a minute. And then we're going to leverage that positioning to build an engaging web and mobile app experience. I've got my stylus, I've got my iPad, it's even a NativeScript iPad, isn't that nice? That was Todd. So I was inspired to give this talk, and the title of the talk is reflected by the title of this book. This was written in 1971. I remember it well. I was a baby. But Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I wonder how many people have read this book. Just a few. Yeah, it's really worth picking up. We were talking about books that we recommend. This must be a pattern of code sharing and book recommendations. This is a really interesting book. You might want to take a look at it. And it was written, interestingly enough, it's about a book about a road trip on a motorcycle. It's the classic kind of Beat Generation, 60s into the 70s road trip book. But it's more than that, because the author actually, it's quite autobiographical. The author, Robert Pirsig, was a technical writer, and he was writing software documentation way back in the day. So it's quite an interesting book for us, coming from where we're coming from, and looking back at the people in the 70s who are literally solving the same problems we're still trying to deal with now. So, but this is an analysis of a half-forgotten past existence as a writing professor. So the protagonist of the book is a writing professor. He became obsessed with good writing back when he was teaching. Now after undergoing electroshock therapy, he is just taking this nice road trip to kind of get his head back in order and to analyze what happened in the past. And the book is this comparison of the world experience of the author, who is this logical, analytical person who's traveling with some people who he considers more artistic. They're interested in aesthetics. They're really not interested in what he considers important, which is motorcycle maintenance and taking care of this equipment. And he structures the book as a series of what he calls chautauquas, which are analyses of various philosophical points. So he'll be doing his little road trip, and then in the middle you'll find this kind of long philosophical analysis right in the middle. He calls those chautauquas. And what he's trying to do in the book is to reconcile various worldviews in a pursuit of what he considers quality, a quality experience of life. And for us, it translates to quality in terms of software development, and I'll explain why in a minute. So what is a motorcycle? How many motorcyclists we have here? I've got a lot of bicyclists. I want to get killed when you're around. I like to get mown over. I used to have a moped. Those things are freaking dangerous. Do not recommend. So he comes at looking at his old vintage motorcycle from a classicist standpoint. And he defines that as by these kind of quotes. So a motorcycle can be divided according to its components and according to its functions. This sounds horribly familiar to us as software developers, right? Especially Vue developers. We're dealing within our components, the functions within those. So the what of the motorcycle is its components, and the how of the motorcycle is its functions. And really that's all a motorcycle is. It's a system of concepts worked out in steel. Now, his traveling companions are very much more romantic. They don't have a vintage motorcycle like he does, which he's obsessed with maintaining. They bought the best BMW they could have, and they're just kind of going to YOLO. They're just going to hope it works. They're not going to maintain it. They're just going to fill it with gas and hope it goes. So they're coming from a much more romantic point of view. If you showed them an image like this, for them that would be just a lump of metal. For me, it's kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious about all these different types of engines. But if you were to show an engine to a romantic person, or a person with a romantic worldview, it's unlikely that he or she would see much of interest in it. It has no appeal, because the reality he sees is its surface. Okay, we've talked about motorcycles. Let's talk about a JavaScript framework. What is a JavaScript framework? It's a system of concepts worked out in code. That's what the analytical person would say. The romantic person would say it's a system that makes working with JavaScript more elegant, easier, and my favorite, less error-prone. That's what the framework is supposed to be helping us with. So we have this kind of two worldviews of what a framework is. Well, how about Vue.js? We have some Vue developers here. Well, Vue developers, the Vue community is pretty obsessed with these questions. And the logical Vue developer would say, well, it's just CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. But the rest of us would say, no, it's not just that. It's elegant CSS. It's beautiful HTML, and it's fantastically aesthetic JavaScript. The API is designed for simplicity. It says so in the docs. And even the CLI has a UI. How many people are using the Vue UI? I strongly recommend trying it out. I'm going to demo it in a second, just in the slides. It's really special. So lest you think that we're just talking about a worldview that's just the two sides of one coin, we're talking really about a separation between worlds. We have the classics and the romantics over on one side of the room and on the other side of the room. And the quest, really, in this worldview is to find this convergence, find this convergence of the classic and the romantic points of view, so that motorcycle maintenance is just as interesting and just as valid as motorcycle riding, this kind of classic idea of maintaining and then the aesthetic feel of the riding. Or for us as software developers, it's writing software, and by golly, it's enjoying the experience too, okay? So that's what we're going for. My entire career has been trying to find this fulcrum, and the author calls it to find quality, to find something right in between so that you can have your design and your development experience converge and find this really beautiful midpoint, right between, in the 60s you'd say, between the hip and the square, between the romantic and the classic, between the technological and humanistic standpoints. I'm an ex-French teacher. The guy who wrote the Vue docs is an ex-German teacher. Evan Yu, who created Vue.js, went to Parsons School of Design. And I think this flavors the entire community. It's extremely interesting to be integrating into it now. So how can we as developers achieve quality? Find this midpoint. Well, the person who really, I think, embodies this finding of this fulcrum right in between design and development is Sarah Drasner, my friend Sarah Drasner, who does little code pens like this, just astoundingly beautiful design and extremely elegant code. She's really someone to follow on Twitter, Sarah Ito on Twitter. She's also an ex-artist who is now a fantastic developer advocate. So what is the Zen of Vue? The Zen of Vue is the fulcrum between design and technology, I think. So not to, push one framework over another, but this is something that I think the community is kind of working towards and trying to create as we go forward. A great example is a beautiful quote that I asked the author of the docs, the main lead of the Vue docs, to give me an idea of what he's trying to do when creating docs. He gave me this beautiful quote, and I'll just read it to you. I try to remember that the docs aren't an objective artifact describing the reality of Vue. Its goal isn't even directly to teach people how to use Vue, but rather to guide their emotional and conceptual development in a way that helps them become more content in their work. So the docs aren't about me or anyone else working on them, but about the relationships between developers and their work using Vue. It's a spectacular quote. It's really a beautiful thing, and I don't think this is necessarily exclusive to Vue. This is a really great goal to work towards when you're writing docs. So it's really a cool and neat way to look at your job as a developer. So after reading this book and after thinking about these things a lot and thinking about where I fit into this world as a developer, I thought, well, what if you could create a project that would find flow between 3 platforms without struggle? Now you're like, oh, this sounds like a code sharing talk, and you'd be right. And that project would help you create a contemplative work of art to aid you in your focus, right? Okay, this is the goal. So I created for you a demo called Mandala Me. And this is for Shiva. This is for you. The idea is that you can build your own personal mandala. So you know what mandalas are? So we'll go over this in a second. So what I wanted to do is to be able to draw designs on your mobile app and show them on the web as a mandala. I have an example of this actually in Angular. It's called Pocket Rave. So it's creating this kind of trippy kaleidoscope with a soundtrack. Same idea, but in Vue. So what is a mandala? Mandalas represent the cosmos. actually. And creating one is an active meditation on the attainment of enlightenment by visualizing Pure Land. So you can see here there's a symmetric kind of layout with north, south, east, and west created in various points within the design. And the particularly famous examples of mandalas are created by Tibetan monks who labor together as a community, chanting as they go. And they labor together using sand to draw mandalas. And it takes maybe, I think, a week to get one all complete, four monks working on it and chanting sutras as they go. And then they ritualistically sweep it away in this kind of amazing thing. So you created a cosmos, you created a universe, and you just sweep it away, and that's all. And you did your job, and you can go on to the next thing. So it's a really lovely way to kind of be contemplative about your work as you go. So I invite you to create your own sacred geometry with me. So here we're going to work in the mobile app, and we're going to view the mandala on the web. So how did I go about creating this? Well, I used the new Vue CLI 3 plugin for NativeScript Vue. So here we are back to NativeScript Vue. There is a brand new Vue CLI 3 plugin. And this is a really exciting moment to be trying this right now. And while I was at it, I decided to use the Vue UI. So this is the beautiful Vue UI. It's a UI built right on top of the CLI. And the author of this, Guillaume Cho, he has a wonderful talk about why CLIs need UIs. So it's really cool. But you just open up the UI from your command line, and then you have this nice website that you can go ahead and create and manage your Vue apps. So here's the Vue project manager in the UI, and you just create your project. And then you're going to install the Vue CLI plugin NativeScript Vue. So if you just search for NativeScript in the UI, you can find these two plugins. One has got the NativeScript Vue logo. The other one is another project built by a really cool community member, and he's doing something different with web components. So both of these projects are worth checking out. I recommend the first one to give it a try for this type of project. And then you're going to configure your plugin. So you add your plugin, and then there's a couple bits of the configuration that are asked for by the plugin. So do you want a dual web and native app, or do you just want a mobile app, or how do you want this? If you have a web app already built, you can use this thing. I'm pretty sure, I have not tried it, but you can bolt on a mobile app into your web app without it being too destructive. So this is something we want to try, something worthwhile, and that everyone asks for at booths. And then you're going to run the scripts to start the project. Once the app scaffolds, you're offered these scripts, and then you can just click, serve web, serve iOS, and serve Android. And before you know it, you've got your web app with routing and a Vuex store, your iOS app, the Android app, and then behind it is the iOS app. So it's kind of scaffolded out for you, and you can really get moving very, very quickly. So it's really nice. Or if you're a purist and you don't want to use the Vue UI, you just run the thing out of the CLI, and that's okay too. It actually takes a little bit less time. Just Vue create, Zen code share, and then the exact same thing you saw, the UI abstracting away, then you can just do this manually using the CLI. Let's take a look at the code that's scaffolded out for you. So it is going to include NativeScript Vue and the TNS core modules. It includes Vue, of course, we need that. It also includes the Vue router, which you're going to use on the web, and Vuex, which you can use all the way through both web and mobile. And then it goes into this interesting naming convention scenario, just like what we saw that the Angular projects do. So here we have, so the brains of your Vue app are always your main file, whether it's main.js for the web or main native.js on mobile. So this is very nice. So you have these two files that are basically telling, okay, web app, do this, okay, native app, do that. And of course, you notice some important differences between the startup systems of your web app and the startup routines of your mobile app. That's all taken care of by having two files. And then there's an option which is really exciting to a lot of us of forked templates. So you've got one app Vue file, and you've got a block for your template web and a block for your template native. So you can have these living side by side. Now, I think if your templates get really complicated, I think you might not want to follow this strategy, but it's available for you, and the plugin allows you to choose whether you want separate files or you want your templates to be forked. So for my situation, because I have relatively simple apps, I just have a forked template, and then these templates live side by side. And it also gets pretty granular. This is a little hard to see, but it offers the opportunity to fork your components. So it offers 4 hello worlds One for Android, one for iOS, one for native if you don't want to mess with that, and then one for the web, just hello world.vue. So I don't use this because my iOS and my Android apps aren't so different, but somebody might want to, in which case it's taken care of for you. If you don't use it, just delete it and move on. It's really neat. It also offers the option to share your styles cross-platform, or you can scope them. You can have styles web, styles native in the same component. So that's really, really helpful. But it's nice to know that you can just have your action bar living, that's a style for your mobile app, living right next, side by side with a style for your web app. And it's going to be picked up no matter where it's needed. That's very helpful. So, Mandala Me. Like I said, the concept is to draw on mobile, and then you build your mandala and display it on the web. Okay, here we go. Demo time, please. Lord, let the Wi-Fi work, because this is Firebase. Okay. All right, here is Mandala Me on the web. And here I have it open right here. So I'll just make these side by side. Okay. Make sure this is right. Okay, you can see me drawing. Okay, I'm going to clear that. So I thought what I would do is select a paintbrush, and then I'm going to give it a little bit less width, a little more opacity. Paintbrush, choose a nice, lovely pink, and draw some very pretty, you can see that, right? You can draw some nice tulips from Amsterdam. Okay. Go inside drawer. Let me change color, get myself some green. Okay, paintbrush, a little less width. Okay, need some, oops, my bad. Make sure the color switched. There we go. Okay, hopefully that's gonna be nice green. Some stems, some lovely leaves. Put a bow on it. There, okay. All right. Well, save it. Now this is what you should plot if the Wi-Fi works. Yes. Okay. Now, let's take a look at how this looks on the web. There it is. Okay, so at this point, you can create your mandala on the web. You need 4 elements to your mandala. So this is from Vue.js. I think this is the demo I did here. So we'll grab this lovely butterfly and our Amsterdam tulips. There we go. Those are all picked here. Now I'm going to build a mandala for myself, and here it is. I must say that it was really trippy building this thing because it's spinning around and around. It makes you really dizzy. But just as the Tibetan monks brush it away, we just brushed it away. So that's it. So very nice. So I want to just walk through a little bit how I built this. So I used 2 versions of Firebase. In theory, you can use VueFire, which is the package for Firebase with Vue. I have not tested this, but I needed storage, which is not supported by that library. So I went ahead and used our fabulous NativeScript Vue plugin for Firebase. Sorry, NativeScript plugin Firebase. And then I also used straight up Firebase on the web. I use Vuex because I tend to put all of my data calls into Vuex for Firebase. And then the thing I'm actually most proud of is I've never built a plugin before, but I built that drawing plugin. So that was great, and that's available for you if you ever want to do any kind of cool drawing with airbrushing and that kind of thing. I needed a side drawer on both projects, so I made sure I had that. And I used Vuetify on the web. Vuetify is material design for the web, and you can use, that was what the web app was designed in. That's where I got that side drawer, so that's really convenient. Vuex for data manipulation, like I mentioned. So I needed to create separate modules to manage my different versions of Firebase. Whenever with these code sharing strategies, whenever you start using plugins like this, some things can really fall apart, but this all worked out because I created an app Firebase native and then app Firebase, different types of Firebases, and then I just brought it in within my Vuex store, and then Webpack knows which one to pick. So that's very helpful. Here we're back to the brains of the app, right? This is main.js versus main native.js. So we have a couple of different implementations here. I needed on the native, I needed to use another plugin, which is the NativeScript Vue multi-drawer. That's Igor's really helpful plugin for side drawers. And then Vuetify on the web. And then the PaintPad plugin, which is mine. And then app view is another one of these forked template scenarios. So I just had, I have one app view, and then I have the forked template web and template native, and then I'll have style web and style native because they look quite different. So that's how that works. This is the welcome view that's imported into your app view. And very, very simple, build your personal mandala. All those V tags, that's coming from Vuetify. So that gives you the nice card layout, the top drawer and the side drawer. And then this is welcome native view. So here we have the multi-drawer layout with your stack layout and a couple more plugins that you need. So you need PaintPad and Color Picker and your file system because you're manipulating files and sending it up to Firebase. So I just want to mention that code sharing, you can look at code sharing, as a kind of convergence, right? So you can find your flow as a developer by building for web, iOS, and Android. And then you can focus on user experience when this thing gets out of your way, right? You can just have this plugin work for you and then get out of its way. So focus on your user experience by providing the native apps appropriate to each platform. And then you can enjoy this nice design and development process by using this flexible plugin that I strongly recommend. So this is the last quote I'm going to read to you from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. So the Buddha, the Godhead, resides quite as comfortably in the circuits of a digital computer or the gears of a cycle transmission as he does at the top of a mountain or in the petals of a flower. So that's what I wanted to just mention to you as something that you can use. I want to say big thank you to the authors of this plugin, Gary Gamble, who on NativeScript Slack is Java the Hutt. That's Gary Gamble, he needs to change that. Manuel, who's done incredible work on both NativeScript Vue and also on this plugin. Igor, who's the heart and soul behind this whole project. Follow me on Twitter at JenLooper. Enjoy finest quality JavaScript. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.